All right, guys, Josh Saunch here with the Bodybuilding News Network with our lead men's open correspondent, Jason Lowe, IFBB Pro Olympian. We just finished up finals. Walk us through the energy in the room, the results, how you're feeling about the results.
I mean, the energy is going to be insane anytime you have a new champion, and that's what we got tonight. So, I mean, it was a tough one to call. I didn't know which way it was going to go. Derek obviously won it from the back. I mean, he had the best back shots out of anybody on that stage, out of anybody in a while I've seen on that stage, honestly. And it definitely won it for him. The other shots could have been a toss-up, but he destroyed it from the back. Conditioning, the muscularity, the everything, the width he has, is mind-boggling on his size. So, I mean, it was definitely an awesome turnout, and congrats to Derek.
Mm-hmm. So clear win for Derek, you think?
I don't know what the scorecards will show, because I do still think Hottie brought it. It looked awesome. We got people walking through the camera.
That's all good.
I mean, Hottie still looked amazing. I still think Hottie was improved from last year. So, I don't know if Derek walked away with it, but I don't think it was the wrong decision.
Yeah, 100%. Walk us through how you thought Hottie looked and, the whole situation with him going off stage and, how that made you feel.
I mean, Hottie looked amazing. Hottie looked incredible. His conditioning, fullness, just everything he brought. I think, like I said, Derek was just harder and bigger from the back. But from the front, I honestly had Hottie on a lot of the shots. He looked harder. He looked bigger, fuller. Everything from the front. Side shots were a toss-up. Derek looked phenomenal in those too. Just a little. Derek was harder in the back, but I mean, Hottie looked incredible. It could have gone either way, in my opinion.
I was talking with you when we were sitting there waiting for the results to come out, and I was saying I wouldn't be upset either way. I think the breakdown I did was I was going to be excited if they gave it to Hottie because it would make Derek want to earn it even more next year. But I was also equally going to be happy if they gave it to Derek Lunsford because honestly, right when the show started, when those guys came out, my eyes went to Derek. And I thought that, a lot of bodybuilding is presentation and being able to capture the audience. And, I am part of the audience. So that was kind of my takeaway. That's how I saw it.
Derek definitely brings that wow factor when he steps out on stage. So she's getting all the camera time. But yeah, he gets that wow factor, especially he hits that front relax pose, the front double. It's wild. It's wild. It's wild to see. And then he turns to the back and it's even crazier. Yeah. So yeah, he definitely draws the attention, and that's what you want to see out of an Olympia champ. So it was awesome. I mean, Samson looked amazing as well. Don't forget about him in third, and I think with time, Samson can be battling it out right there with Derek. So, it just brings it up from the back, and that's going to be another awesome battle to see. And you mentioned this earlier. Now we're going to have, 4 Mr. Olympias competing next year probably?
Yep.
That's going to be insane.
Yeah. The way it could turn out is we could have 4 Mr. Olympia champions on stage and 2, maybe 3 Arnold Classic champions, Nick, Brandon Curry, and Samson Dauda. So your 2024 is probably going to be one of the most I don't want to say talented packed lineups, but it's going to be one of the most, in bodybuilding terminology, star-studded lineups that we've probably seen in, I don't know, at least since the 90s.
Yeah, and then I'm going to try my best to be standing in the background somewhere.
Yeah, Jason's goal is not to be commentating as a media guy next year, but to be another competitor, but this time from the Classic Physique to the 212, and then hopefully next year, men's open bodybuilding, Olympia qualified.
Hey, watching these guys definitely lights a fire under you, so I'm ready to get back into training hard, growing, and hopefully joining these guys.
Yeah, 100%. I want to get to the 4th and 5th place, but there was a lot of feedback with Derek Lunsford's posing last year where he, really does the horse stance with the legs.
Yeah.
Do you think that played any part this year? Is there any validity to that kind of critique?
I didn't notice it as bad this year. So I think he he did work on it a little bit. It wasn't nearly as pronounced with his posing this year, so maybe he took that feedback and fixed it a little bit. He didn't seem too as squatty, you would say, but yeah, I mean, his posing looked great, honestly, in most shots. I've always thought that as well with his posing in the front shots, a little too squatty, but I didn't notice it as bad this time.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably that combination of, him being able to take that whole year. Like, this is his first year as a men's open competitor, taking that full season of prepping, combining that with, I thought, a little bit more condition this year, maybe all of that coming into a package that really just takes our attention away from the small things and makes us focus on, the micros, not the macros.
I'll say this as well, as a competitor that has in the past always worried about my legs not being big enough, and people have critiqued Derek's legs in the past, and I think when you think your legs are too small, you get a little squattier with it. You're trying to push them out more and more, and he's filled them out. The legs are not really a weak point now, so I feel like he feels more comfortable hitting the pose differently now, probably. Yeah. So he doesn't feel like he needs to be squatty and try and push it out so hard.
Okay. Very fair critiques for Derek Lunsford. We briefly talked about Samson, but I mean, we can give it a little bit more depth and breadth. What were your thoughts on Samson coming out of the Arnold Classic, being a favorite to, some people were saying win the whole gosh darn thing? How are you feeling about Samson Dauda placing top 3 at this year's, his second Mr. Olympia ever?
Hey, phenomenal placing for your second Olympia for anybody. I love Samson's physique. I'm a big fan of his. Now, the thing you got to think about, though, is all the people that were missing from this year's Olympia. Did he really go up in placings?
Was he really third place,
So if we got Nick Walker back, if we've got Big Ramy back, what actually will happen? I still think he will be up there in that top 3, but it'll be interesting to see what everyone else comes back at their best.
That does create a nice, interesting storyline, because we're going to have Big Ramy next year. We're going to have Nick Walker. Hopefully we get Nathan Diasha in that mix. I think he could be a top 10 guy. So we're going to have a lot of more talent coming into the 2024 Mr. Olympia. Sure. But all in all, I was really happy with how Samson looked. The conditioning, I thought, was improved from the Arnold, and of course he continues to put more and more muscle on. It seems every single show he seems to put more muscle on.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, he gets, I would say between him and Derek, those are the two most improved for sure. I mean, Samson in such a short amount of time, last year from the Olympia to the Arnold, and then this year from the Arnold to the Olympia, just crazy improvements for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see, we've got Brandon Curry, 4th place, after the conversation of maybe him not even competing with the stomach ulcers. Yeah. It turned out to be stomach ulcers. How are you feeling about Brandon Curry and his ability? It's stressing me out. I'm feeling like someone's going to kick that bad boy.
That's what I keep thinking.
How are you feeling about Brandon Curry? Back-to-back 4th place finishes, I believe.
I thought he looked good, but, especially considering the fact that he was in the hospital, a day before the show, and didn't even know if he was going to compete. Not only the effects of the sickness that he was having, but the stress that puts on the body and the mind, and cortisol levels shoot up, and that can wreck somebody's physique. Yep. So the fact that he still looked really good and still plays top 4, after going through that a day out, I think it was great for him.
Yeah. I think he looked, for what we were expecting from him, I thought he looked amazing. Kind of a traditional look for Brandon Curry, not crazy shredded, still playing a little bit of the size game, but the lines are beautiful. Yeah. From the back, he's amazing.
Yeah. Shape was great.
Very shapely.
Yeah. So
I'm definitely wondering, what he's going to do next year. Going from 4th to 5th, Andrew jacked with the very exciting 5th place finish here. How did you feel, him beating out Hunter Labrada here and in Texas? What does this speak for Andrew Jack's possibility of, competing next year and his, future success?
Hey, Andrew's another one that if he continues to make improvements can keep climbing. I mean, genetically just a freak, the shape, the lines, the structure, everything is there.
Yeah.
He just needs to fill out. He's like, you look at Samson, and they are about the same height, I think, somewhere close at least.
Yeah, very close.
But Samson's just much more filled out. And I think Andrew brings up his hamstrings and just certain areas fill out a bit and starts nailing that conditioning. Yeah, he could easily move up. But I think this show between him and Hunter, I don't know what the scorecard's going to show because, like you said, Andrew did already beat him in Texas. But I think it was closer tonight than it was yesterday. Yesterday, I think Andrew easily had it. And then today, I think it was a little more of a battle between them, but it obviously wasn't enough for Hunter to make up any ground.
Yeah. Outside of the top 5, was there anyone that really excited you within the top 10?
I mean, there's always some great. I mean, Tonio looked. Knowing
amazing.
He's the smallest guy on stage and still looked. Standing next to Regan, hitting a back double. Regan's back is insane. He's huge. He's a big guy, and that back double didn't look downsized next to Regan at all. Like it was definitely the best conditioning Tonio's ever been in.
Yep. Huge improvements from New York.
And Regan's got a great physique as well. Once he nails it, he's going to be dangerous for a lot of people too. So, I mean, it was a great show. Honestly, there was a lot of people that put it together well. I know a lot of people were talking about a lot of people's conditionings was off, and I think part of that might have just been the lighting they're seeing. I think part of that might be the fact that they went on stage so late, and maybe a few people missed the mark on nailing the peak. Yeah, but they were all in great shape. Sometimes you don't peak perfectly and it doesn't look as good as you actually are. So, but yeah, everyone looked amazing, man.
Yeah, 100%. And there is always going to be that discrepancy between lighting that looks good in person and then lighting that's more complementary towards the live stream.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed, this is my second Olympia, and to include the Arnold Classic last year, or this year technically, I have noticed that there's a huge difference between lighting that makes a live stream pop and lighting that is good for photography and for the judges to really be able to critique the physiques in the way that they need to.
Yeah.
So when people say that, I had some messages with my YouTube group, people were saying, hey, the lighting looked really bad, it looked dark, the live stream was kind of blurry. I can't say anything about the live stream, but I can say from first-person experience, perspective at least, that the lighting at the 2023 Mr. Olympia, at least for finals, the most fresh memory, I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was good, especially in person. And then I've sat right next to the judges before too. It's a completely different look when you're sitting there compared to we were several rows back. And just that difference can make a huge. So the judges have the best view in the house. They know what they're seeing, and they know that they're going to make the right decision where they have the best view. So if you don't agree, you got to think of their perspective.
Yeah, 100%. Classic Physique. What were your thoughts on the Classic? Chris Bumstead, Mr. 5-time. Did you have any doubt that Chris Bumstead might not win this title this year?
Not really. I said before, I thought it would be a shock if Ramon won. Chris is hard to beat, And when I saw him walk out to do his routine tonight, it was
game over, lights out.
There was no question. I mean, he put on a good routine. It wasn't like Terrence Ruffin or I got chills when Terrence did it.
That was a long routine, but it was so good.
It was, and I got goosebumps every time Terrence does a routine, I get goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
But Chris put on a very well planned routine. It looked great, and when he started posing, you could just tell, like, all right, he's still the champ.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't want to keep saying 100%, but when we look at the Brazilian Dino. Ramon Dino, what does he need to do? What does he need to do to make improvements and possibly win in 2025? What kind of critiques do you think the judges are giving him?
That's a very good question. You look at they have two very different physiques. You know, I said before, I actually like Ramon's back better, even though it's not as wide. So if he can bring out a little more width and keep that detail that he has, I think he's got more detail than Chris in his back.
Yeah.
I think the biggest fault he has is his hamstrings.
Yeah.
So
we talked about that.
Yeah. So if he can bring those hamstrings up, actually have some like good separation and definition from the back when he hits those back shots, because that's half your body from the back. It's a back double bicep, but you're still judging the legs, and his glutes are peeled, but nothing on the hamstrings really. So, I mean, that would definitely improve his physique a lot. Other than that, it's hard to. I mean, you're talking about the two best of the best. It's hard to pick apart much flaws from other than that, you know?
Yeah. I don't want to skip Urs too much, but I thought that he looked very similar to what we've seen before. Very conditioned, great quad sweep. When we look at number 4, when we look at Brion Anley, you know, he came into this Olympia really wanting to maximize that increased weight cap. Do you think it helped him at all, or is he kind of still in the situation that he was last year?
Well, I'll say that first about Urs, phenomenal look, and like you said, very similar to what we've seen in the past, but there were slight improvements.
Yeah.
And I think he's young. He's doing it the right way. He's growing slowly, improving slowly, and keeping his shape, keeping his strengths, and eventually he'll be there, you know, and he'll keep that good look that we like, just make all those necessary improvements. So he'll get there. And then Brion, you know, for one, 4th place when, you know, until they made the announcement about the weight, he didn't even know if he was going to do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, they had a weight increase. He decided he would jump in, you know, because he could make that weight now. It wouldn't be as bad. With Brion, I think he's probably one of the most complete people on that stage.
Yeah.
You know, he brought great conditioning, very complete as a bodybuilder. You know, especially with the weight increase, he almost looks more like a bodybuilder. And classic physique guys are bodybuilders, but there's a very specific shape they're looking for. It's a different look that they're going for, which separates it from bodybuilding. And I think even with that weight increase, that's always been a critique of Brion's, and it was even a little more just because he's bigger now, and so he even looks a little more like a bodybuilder.
Yeah. Do you think there's a possibility that Brion might hang up the classic posing trunks and commit completely to the 212 after, you know, 4th place is not what he's looking for? I've talked to him a few times in person. What do you say?
I don't know what he will choose to do, but my opinion is he shouldn't. Only for the fact that, look, he's still top 5 in the world, top 4 in the world, and he's not young. Personally, I just wouldn't put that stress on his body at that age when you're already top 4 in the world in this division, and then trying to push more weight and everything as you're getting older, you know, where, you know, let's face it, that's when things start to they get tougher. Things start to fade if you're not training, you know, smart and everything. So, you know, he's already killing it at where he's at. So I don't know if it'd be worth it to try and push up to that heavier weight, you know, for another year or 2 of competing or however long he plans on competing. But, you know, he's not in his 20s like, you know, Urs and stuff like
30s.
that. Yeah, or his 30s even. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't know what he'll choose to do, though.
That's a great point, Jason, because a lot of people, they don't think about the longevity and also their health off the stage. And when you look at someone like Brion Anley, who's placing top 4 in the world for his division, there really is no reason for him to switch up that formula. Exactly. I mean, if you were to compete, if you were to qualify for the Open and place top 4 every single year, or at least a couple years in a row, there's no way you would want to be, oh, well, maybe I need to go to a different division.
Honestly, you know, I'm 5'8", so in the 212, I was a little, taller than most of the guys. So even if I'm maxing out the 212, if you got a guy 4 inches shorter than me, they look thick as hell. So, but if I had been placing in the top 3, top 4 at the Olympia in the 212, I'm not sure if I would have pushed to, you know, move up to the Open, at least not as quick as I did.
Yeah.
You know, I made it to the Olympia, but I was just outside the top 10 at 11th. And I feel like I could have improved the next year and been in the top 10 for sure. But at the same time, you know, I know I'll be my best a little heavier. I don't know how much better Brion would get when he's already placed in top 4, moving into a bigger division. I mean, in the end, it's his decision, obviously, and we all know he's a very competitive person. So who knows what he'll choose to do? But you know, I'm sure he'll look great wherever he plans on going. Yeah. But personally, I would just probably stay in the Classic.
Yeah, and best of luck to Brion on whatever division he decides to do. Wrapping up, and I'm going to try to see if I can snag a few other people as we finish up here, because I know you are starving because you're a professional bodybuilder.
I'm hungry.
When we look at the condition at this year's Olympia, the lighting, the stage, the production, how late or how technically early we got out here for finals, how are you feeling compared from last night getting out at midnight versus now we are completely done and I think it's exactly 11 o'clock.
Yeah, much better than last night for sure. So I mean, I'm not upset they got done. I mean, around 10:30 really, because we've been standing out here for a while. It took a bit to get out here. We had Derek's speech to
his sermon.
His sermon. It was preachy.
It was tactful.
It was very tactful. It wasn't as preachy. It was just very thankful to his family, his friends and stuff. So that was nice. But yeah, I mean, this was much better. It could have. I've seen it go much later and be much worse. So this isn't that bad. Yeah. We get out in time, go find a late dinner and pass out.
Yeah. Or I mean, with these, we might be able to get into the gala because I think this is equivalent to a silver VIP.
Yeah.
It makes me feel kind of VIP.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try sneaking in there, maybe get some lobster. I don't know what they got going on, but I'm always down for some networking.
Oh, for sure. They didn't have lobster last time I was at the gala, but
okay. I'll take boiled chicken any day.
The food was good though.
Okay, Jason, any closing thoughts? The day 1, day 2. Prejudging finals for the Olympia, Classic, Open, 212, the Expo, press conference, the meet and greet. What was your feeling?
Everything went pretty well. Pretty smooth this weekend, I think. Big upset in Open bodybuilding, big upset in 212 bodybuilding. Yeah. There was an upset in men's physique.
Yep.
So I think it was pretty awesome. I mean, you got a lot of new champions, and you can see kind of a trend of the shape taking over, I think. Mm-hmm. Keon winning the 212, Derek winning this. Right. Yes, Derek looked phenomenal, but also he was the more shapely person compared to Hottie. Yep. So, Sean looked amazing in 212, but Keon had a better shape, better structure. So, if they're going that route, I might actually have a chance. Yeah. I like it because I'm not going to ever be the biggest guy on stage, but I can bring some shape.
100%. That's a good point. Something that you can take from Classic into 212, and now you're into Open. You can think about, okay, how can I improve my physique, or how can I maintain my pros, right? You're very shapely. You've got a great flow. You've always been able to hold a nice midsection. Vacuum, I remember. At least once.
Near the end of prep.
I saw one photo with a vacuum at least.
Yeah, the last few weeks of prep. I'm not one of I don't know how Keon can pull a vacuum when he's full bulk mode. Some of these guys can do that, but yeah, the last few weeks of prep, I can start pulling a pretty good vacuum.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean that's probably going to wrap it up. I'm going to float around here and try to snag a few more interviews. I see Muscle Insiders working right next to us, so I'll probably hop in on them. But Jason, phenomenal recap.
Always a pleasure, man.
We'll look forward to getting hopefully a show started here on Bodybuilding News Network with you and a couple other up-and-coming Open pros. And we'll figure out a very catchy name, so let us know down below if you guys think of anything interesting. But for the 2023 Mr. Olympia, I'm your host here on the Bodybuilding News Network, Josh Saunch, and our new correspondent, IFBB Pro, Jason Lowe. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for more content like this. If we do not see you before the 2024 Arnold Classic, we will see you in Columbus, Ohio, as BNN returns to Columbus for the, I don't know which number it is, but the 2024 Arnold Classic. But But that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Check out Jason Lowe on Instagram at IFBB_Pro_Broku.
IFBB_Broku.
Okay, I was close. But thanks, guys, and we'll see you in Columbus.